Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 19 of the Sim Racing in Focus podcast. This here is part number 2 of this episode. If you haven't caught part 1 yet, head back into the Sim Racing in Focus channel on whatever platform you are listening to, and make sure you tune in for part 1 before listening to this episode. I'm your host, Dean Reddit. I am the owner and editor at simracinginfocus.blog. The other person in the room with me on this here episode is Jacob Packets Hughes, a good mate who regularly comes on and talks all things sim racing news with us. As I said, this is the second part to the episode. In this episode, we are talking on the Premier Endurance League and also more about the Fanatec takeover by Corsair finally being completed, and also news that broke this week about Motorsports Games going up for sale, which if anyone's followed along with the show will know that we've been following that topic for quite some time now. So by all means, hope you have enjoyed the first part to this episode and enjoy this second part. But for now, let's get back to the conversation. Let's move. It's been a while since we've covered anything to do with the GT3 Premier Endurance League. So we've had 2 rounds since we last spoke. We had round 2 was at Misano, and round 3 was at Oschersleben. So I'm actually very confident with pronouncing that track name now, believe it or not. Let's kick off with round 2. That it was some time ago now.
I swear we've spoken about round 2.
No, there was a lot made about going into the round 2 about car choices. I did run the Lambo grenade.
Oh yeah,
2.
that's right. Yes,
so, I did what you couldn't. I went in, and got the Lambo. So it was a terrifying race. Really, it was quite terrifying. At times I felt invincible, and at times I felt like I was going to die at any second.
Yeah,
and the traction control on that thing has got a mind of its own. Sometimes it comes on, sometimes it doesn't. Who knows? Sometimes it comes on mid corner and causes you to spin twice in the race. No, who knows? It's just it's a lucky dip, but at the end of it, I loved it.
Yep.
So, and I can't wait. We've missed Oschersleben, but we've got Detroit next up for round number 4, and I can't wait. I think the thought of trying to drive that thing around Detroit is going to be amazing.
That thing actually will be good around there.
If you figure it out.
Yeah. If you figure it out, it'll be good.
Well, it seems more like a point and shoot car. Like, yes. Like, coming out of some of those hard braking zones, like it's going to have that good traction off the corner. And, I think, I tell you what, for someone that hasn't raced for 2 months, I'm quite optimistic about that one.
Yeah. And the only reason I think the Lambo is a good option for that is because I just remember driving that thing at Long Beach
and dominate,
and it just being wicked. Yeah. It's just I love the Lambo on a street circuit. It's good.
Oh, well, before we get to Detroit though, cast your mind back to Misano. The track itself was split opinions. I actually kind of liked the track, although it was quite tough to race.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, racing, it was painful. But if you can, the Mustangs. If there's a Mustang in front of you, it is horrible. Like, and the thing I find with the Mustang, especially on fast tracks, is that if you have one in front of you and there's a straight longer than 200 meters, you aren't going to get near it. You could be right on its tail, it will pull away. But then if they'll get squirrely for a couple of corners and you'll think you're going to overtake them, and then they just pull away again. And it's very annoying. And I found that a lot with this series. But at the end of the day, I'm not really sure where I was going with that. But
the Mustang was just too hard to overtake.
No, like I've like I've said this a couple of times with round one and round two, and it's very consistent. Always find myself sort of at the start of the race, just being at the end of the day, it comes down to me not qualifying well, but I always find myself stuck behind a Mustang, just waiting for their tires to get to the point that I can then get around, and then I'm fine. And once I get around them, I'll walk away. It's just getting around them is painful.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people have sort of caught on to that same sort of thing with the Mustangs. But yeah, that track as a whole, I thought it was pretty good. A lot of people didn't like it, but yeah, I definitely liked it. I had actually ended up having a really good result. I was looking like I was going to get fourth there for a while. I was sitting in fourth, and then I ended up making a massive mistake and got a slow down. And then I had to settle for fifth. But our teammate Alan Dawson, he got fourth, which was really good. So yeah, it was a pretty strong finish for me that race, and I was pretty happy with that because I don't think I got too much practice at all for that round. But yeah, I'm currently sitting 10th in the championship, it's looking like. So it's a bit weird for me to be hovering up that sort of end of the field. I'm sure I'll throw all that away at Detroit, but
Yeah. Yeah, you did have a good result. The pork was like you were. I remember we did the podcast beforehand, the week before, and you said like I think you were feeling pretty not optimistic at all about it because you hadn't done much there. But the pork,
yeah,
you seemed to be on it pretty quick. Like I'd done a little bit. Like I think I'd done at least one or two tests in the Lambo, and I was a bit off the pace, one lap pace, but that's not typical. Like that's not uncommon for me. Like I really struggle in qualifying. However, you were comfortably. I think you were within the first session. You were 5, 6 tenths in front of me. Your first session hadn't been my third session. I was thinking to myself, oh, this I could be regretting this car choice. Like I'm quite a long way off the pace. But the pork swords and the Audi were quite good at that track.
yeah. I think
Not to take anything away
I think
from the drive.
I just managed to get a lot of consistent laps in. Like my pace, my average lap time was relatively good, and on par with pretty much everyone at the top half of the field. I just like I said before, there was too many times where I was sort of caught behind a car and it just took too long to get it sorted because there was quite a few cars that I'd sit there and just getting around was so painful. But then once I got around them, I could just get back in a rhythm and then I'd walk away and then I'd have a couple of second gap behind me. So yeah, it was just qualifying better would have just been such a better outcome. But
yeah, that's an
obvious one.
That was a kick myself race. Like I think I qualified like 28th, out of like 46, or it was best part of 50 cars started in the grid. I didn't have a good quali session. I got in plenty of traffic, but got a good start, starting to make my way up. And then I had a little incident coming into the last turn where the car in front got on the brakes a lot quicker than what I thought. And then I kind of just like panic braked and spun it in the like little half spin in the first corner. And then I had to wait there because it was in the opening 5 laps. I had to wait there for the whole field to go past. Then I got going again. Safety car come out, which, there was 4 or 5 drivers elected not to go in, which they ended up playing a huge role in how the rest of the race would go because they ended up being at the front on old tyres where by the time the race went green. So it was frustrating for me because I actually then, after that safety car, I got dialed in and started the Lambo. The Lambo, once it got about halfway through its fuel tank, was just rapid. On the second half of the thing was just rapid. And I made my way all the way back up to, I think it was about P12 or 13th. And I was dueling with a Mustang for about 8 laps.
and I didn't
Yep.
know any different. So I think I completed the second pit stop. I was on the way to the green flag, and I assumed the car in front was doing the same thing. And I was pestering this car for like 8 laps, and I had a couple of big dive bombs, and just like you said, they were into like hard braking zones, but on the other side of the hard braking zones was long straight, and I could only get long side at best, and
Yeah.
for eight laps, and then I was wringing the thing's neck, and coming into the second to last turn, I was carrying way too much speed, and the traction control kicked in, and I again just a half spin,
Yeah.
and I ended up rearwards into the barrier, and I lost about 10 or 15 seconds. The car that I was hunting down, unbeknownst to me, was one of the cars that didn't pit under the safety car. So as I was spinning, he literally pulled into the pit lane in front of me, and I was just like, "You got to be kidding me!" For 8 laps, I've been trying to get past you, thinking that you didn't need to pit again, and you needed to pit again. Like, why?
Yeah.
Why did you not just let me past? We had so much time. We was like 10 seconds to the car that was in front of him, and I was blowing up at the fact that he just didn't let me go, but also it was just my stupidity as well for not realizing. But when you do our enduros, it's with no spotter, it's impossible to know everything.
Oh, that's it, eh?
I don't use any SDK or anything either. I just run vanilla.
Yeah, nah. Yeah, neither do I, man. I just run the irising overlay, the black box. That's about it, man, eh?
Yeah. So that I think I recovered to finish 15th, which I was still pretty happy with, but it could have been I think I was on for a 10th, 11th.
Yeah.
If I had probably could have gone higher if I had got round him early, but it would have been on for the back end of the 10, maybe just outside the 10 if I had managed to keep the car on track. So, but in saying all that, like we mentioned before that the Audis were quite strong, and did they finish 1, 2, 3? The Twitchy Foot Racing boys, they were all donning the Audi, and I think I believe Rain Campbell got the job done and took the win for the team.
Yeah, it was good to see Rain actually get that.
Interesting fellow, really, isn't he?
Yeah, he is, and I feel like his humour's very comparison to ours, especially when I start pumping bloody spammy memes in the bloody Discord and whatnot. He seems to be very well.
You think he's got the humour of an 8-year-old?
Yeah,
it's like us. Yeah,
yeah.
It was good.
It was good to see him get that.
It was. He did drive a good race. I think it was his teammate that was on pole, but just trying to cast my mind back about what happened. But and then I think Eli Donaldson got up into third. Was it Eli? Yeah, and they were very, very strong at that particular race weekend. So big congratulations to the Twitchy Foot team. So they're a team that I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Packets, but I think they're GT3 primarily focused team. So you usually see them in the Premier Endurance League, but also, I think they got a big participation in the Gentleman Sim Racing Club as well.
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
So I think that's where I first spotted those guys, but they're getting stronger and stronger. So, certainly looking like they're going to be a good force in Premier Endurance League this season.
Yeah. Well, it definitely seems like the Audi's a consistently strong car this season, I think.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely. And I'm not regretting at all switching out last minute for the Lamborghini.
Don't worry, mate. It'll all come into its own this weekend.
Literally before the Audi dominant track.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Well, as I mentioned before, I missed out on Oschersleben, and I believe you did as well, Packets, for round number 3.
Absolutely. Shame that, isn't it?
So,
I'm not.
We've raced this one in another league prior, but the track it's not a GT3 track, but I didn't hate it, but yeah, you'd never get any overtaking done there.
Yeah, it's not a GT3 track, and it's not a big field track. And it's just a prick. Like, pit exit's a joke, turn one's a joke, and I'm pretty sure those two things I mentioned there were a major problem within the race.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not a fan of that track at all. It's just, I don't know, for production car cup or MX5 and that, I think it's fun, but yeah, not in a GT3.
Did you watch the coverage? Didn't you?
Yeah, I chimed in.
I didn't watch it live. I've just caught bits and pieces here and there. But you watched the start of it, and sort of as you'd sort of suspected, a little bit of chaos broke loose at the beginning.
Yeah, I think yeah, a lot of the main carnage at the start was all within the safety car procedure, which, like, I don't know, because I didn't. You can only go off what you see in the broadcast, but there seems to be a bit of a problem with the big field that we have and restarts. I'm not sure if there's an issue with people maintaining speed, but I think they were looking into visiting that, because I don't know if there's an actual ruling with maintaining the speed, and it's just all up to the guy at the front. Whereas I think, given the fact that it is an internet race, so there's lag, and it's such a massive grid with a lot of spread between the top drivers and the lower drivers, I think there needs to be implemented some sort of speed to stick to during a safety car, or during a restart or something, maybe. Whether that be during a safety car, everyone can just cruise and do whatever. But on the lap that the safety car goes in, everyone's instructed, maintain 80k an hour. Whereas I know that the worst part is I know that that's going to be hard to police. But the problem is, if you maintain that speed, and if there is a problem where someone's had a Lara Bingle down the field, like, at the end of the day, if they go back and look at that and go, well, how'd this happen? Oh, well, the guy rolled off so he could get a gap to the car in front of him, or so he can get a good launch, or the guy was going quicker than 80, so he hit the back of him. So, there's those things you can revisit if there's an issue. But if everyone's instructed to do 80 and stay at 80, then on the restart, you're not going to have that concertina effect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, at the end of the day, whatever gets implemented isn't going to be the be-all, end-all, because you're still going to have issues. But right now, there is nothing at all, and it's a massive issue. So, there just needs to be something. But like I said, you can't police it, but in the case of an incident, you will be able to revisit and go, yeah, you went wrong because you were doing the wrong thing, and then issue a penalty. It's just, we need something. So that was the fact that track is such a tight track would have made that issue worse anyway. But still, there needs to be something implemented, because we've had issues with that in the past.
Yeah. There's gamesmanship and all sorts of stuff that goes on as well with those restarts, isn't there? Whether you can take that out of it fully or not, who knows? But
yeah.
It's
at the end of the day, like real life racing, was it supercars or whatever, they're told to hold a speed limit after the safety car goes in. So it's, there needs to be something brought in.
Yeah, it was certainly a tough one. Just looking back, there was no clear gaps in the field. There's cars absolutely everywhere, so the leaders were just going in and out of lap traffic and towards the end of the race. But I think so. To sum the race up at the end there, it was Stuart Shaw who got the win in the Porsche, and he won over Dean Mackay and Tommy Wallace. So a couple of the TriStar Motorsport teammates there in second and third. It's another fuel-saving sort of clinic, really, from Sam Chapman. He's done it a couple of times already, but how do you sort of describe this? What he's able to do in the car packets? Because he's usually got a qualifying in, I don't know, in the teens. I didn't happen to see where he qualified for this race, but he keeps popping up right at the front, just off the back of the podium. And this one in fourth. Eli Donaldson rounded out the top five, but I thought it was an interesting drive from Sam. And I know you've had a bit of you've raced against him a fair bit in the past, whether it be Premier or GS or GSRC. So I thought you might be able to shed some light on how he goes about it.
Anyone that slightly knows Sam on iRacing knows that this guy loves to feel safe. So he just, I swear Sam just goes, oh yeah, it's there. Okay, cool. I'll just go like rubbing a couple of stints and then just see how much I can roll off. And I swear he just knows a gap that he can put between him and the leaders and the cutoff point of how much he can roll off. Like, I swear he just goes into the race knowing where how far he can roll off from the lead and then how much fuel he has to save. I feel like they're just the two things he needs. He comes into a race confirmed. Or I could be wrong. Maybe just wings it. And then just sees what happens, because it doesn't always work. But I've seen him definitely win a lot of races in the past by running that strategy.
Yeah. I can't remember if the couple of races I've seen him do this in, they've been safety car affected races, or if he had more success without the safety car. I can't quite remember, but it just clearly just thinking differently to everyone else. And, it's a hard, with this track the way it was, where there was cars everywhere. Like, you would think everyone would get a draft at some point, and maybe the fuel saving game wouldn't have been as big of a factor. But I know that with multiple safety cars, maybe he was able to, drop a second stop or something. I don't know. But he's making a good habit out of it.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, if you just like mention someone's name on iRacing and you go, oh, just what's one thing you remember about that person? It's just like you mentioned his name. You're like, yeah, that dude he'll feel saved that he'll have to miss one whole complete pit and he'll come from like last to first. Like, it's just, he just manages to always pull it off.
Well, big ups to Sam with that strategy play that come through pretty well for this race. Yeah. There's some other interesting points to pick up on this race. So I don't think the winner from round 2 in Ram Campbell took place in this. Well, he didn't start this race. Looks like Isaac Curtis was the winner in the Challenger class. It is Challenger, isn't it? So, Isaac's up, finished 12th. So he's done quite well for himself there. I know he's sort of always particularly close to the front in the Challenger class. So, if he starts knocking on the door of the top 10, he might get moved on up.
Yeah, very true.
Probably
one thing sorry, you're right.
I was going to say the other probably big talking point was Owen Coleman down in 23rd.
Yeah, well, another talking point about Owen would be that he rocked up in the Porsche and not the Corvette for this round.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Obviously after the last round, he's not liking it.
Do you think he's seen what you were able to do at round 2 and thought, I need to have that car? If he can finish there, then obviously the Porsche is the car.
If he was to think like that, he would probably be in the Lambo. Not the Porsche.
I thought you might have had some Porsche jealousy there.
And I think I can't remember, but I think Owen actually got caught up into a wreck. I think because he ended up finishing a lap down from memory.
There's a few of them down there. Like Trent Allen was down there as well, so he
Oh,
probably
dude, it was after P15, they were all lapped down.
yeah.
That's crazy.
P15. Wow. Well, I like, yeah, jeez, that's a lot of cars lapped down. Well, I
Hmm.
mean, if Sam's, no, it wasn't Sam that won the race. I was going to say if he missed a pit stop, maybe that's why. But no, it was Stuart Shaw that obviously. We need to go back, and I haven't seen how Stewie got there into that position. Maybe he did something similar, but yeah, like, yeah, a real mix up of a field, really, isn't it? Like, you know, Trent probably felt lonely that you weren't racing, so he couldn't hold you up. So he got lost out there on track without a pork stuck under his rear wing. But yeah, so interesting race. Like I need to watch it better myself and just understand the chaos that sort of unfolded. But yeah, we can give a quick sort of summary. You know,
Look, I just think at the end of the day, the big thing for me to take away from that round was it was a good round to choose to take a drop round, given my last result.
And there is a drop round now this year, so you know,
yeah,
I've already missed 2 rounds, but you know, I'll it's going to benefit me. And you know, Rain missing that round as well. Yeah, Ben Woods missed that round as well. So a couple of guys from the pointy end of the field. So yeah, a few people chose to sat that one out, but you can see, I guess, after 3 rounds of the 7-round series, Dean Mackay is in first on 920 points, from Eli Donaldson in second on 840, and Stuart Shaw is also equal second with 840 points. So for the Revolution E Racing team, so I think there's some not familiar, but I guess the expected drivers up there. Both Dean and Eli are new to this series, I believe, this year. So Stewie was obviously pretty competitive last season. Just having a look down, last season's champion Owen is down in 12th on 400. So, but you know, there's still 4 rounds to go. But yeah, it's an interesting one. Detroit's going to be a fun one. I can't wait for Detroit, to be honest.
Yep. Yeah, it's funny. Like, you know, I always talk about that that Long Beach race because I was absolutely buckled. I was very very drunk when I did that race and had stupid pace. And the funny thing is, Bathurst is on this weekend, the real life Bathurst. So I'm actually going to end up rocking up to this race a bit tanked as well. So yeah, sorry, Jimmy and Ricky, but that's what's going to happen.
It's always fun when you do that, but to try and make it last for 2 hours is quite challenging. The buzz, usually when the buzz wears off, you crash.
Yeah. Look, I'll be on beers all day, and then that race, I dare say the red wine will probably come out. So we'll see how that goes.
That's the secret, is it? Let's have a look let's have a quick look at the Challenger class. It's Jamie Saxon leading Challenger class from Isaac Curtis, and then good old Mark Foster there in third. So that's a pretty tight run affair, that one. 380 for Jamie, 280 for Isaac, and 240 for Mark. But Jesse McMenamin and Benjamin Brooks, they're right there with Mark and Isaac, competing for those sort of last 2 places on the podium. So, pretty good makeup for the Challenger class this year, I'd say. There's a couple of good new guys at the top there that are certainly proving that they can match it with the elite guys.
Yeah, I think next season there's going to need to be a little bit of a shake up with the elite and the Challenger class. Yeah, because there's a few challenges there. You're seeing during the race, I can't remember who it was. I'm pretty sure the last race there was a Challenger that qualified in the top 5. I think it was.
Oh, that was Eli. He's been bumped up now.
Yeah.
Would it surprise you to hear though? Would it surprise you to hear that there's 40 cars in the elite class and 23 categorized in the Challenger class?
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's a bit interesting.
So
Um,
there's quite. You say that there might be some readjustment to be made, but there's already quite a big elite contingent. Are you suggesting demotion?
I don't know if I'd say.
Because if you are,
Yeah, no,
I'll put my hand up. No, no.
I, yeah, I'm not sure how. Yeah, I'm not sure what to make of it because this conversation is always odd, and how many times have we joked in the past with V8 series and whether you want to be in split one or split two, and the old classic sandbag and talk starts coming out, and yeah, I don't know. It's
For me, I think it's this type of thing. Um, I again, I like, I'm a competitor, even though I have not been racing regularly. Like, I don't. I joke that I say I put my hand up to go back to challenger. I don't actually want to be in the challenger class. Like, if I'm
yeah,
racing, and I actually gonna show up for a season, I want to achieve the highest possible finish that I can achieve. And like, if I'm fully locked in and invested in a series, I don't regard myself as a challenger driver. Like, I know some people out there
yeah,
are a little bit different. Like, they're happy to go back and compete because I don't know, like, it's only really, I don't really understand it because you might, you might win the challenger class, but you still might finish 15th on track, and there's nothing for
yeah.
that.
I personally think, I personally wish we would do away with it, and just have the one split. Like, because I remember my first season with these guys, and I was always sort of in the 15th, sort of 15th, 20th sort of region. Um, Definitely not sort of getting into the top 10 much at all. And personally, like, it didn't bother me. I didn't sit there and go, "Oh, this is crap." Like, I want to be at the front. Wish I had an AM class or whatever. And that it's just because, at the end of the day, like, you just you're out there and you're driving and you're racing against other cars. And the fact that we've got challenger drivers out there, you're still racing against them. But like, if I'm driving and I have a pit stop and I have a challenger guy in front of me, it just makes me want to be more aggressive because I just think, oh, I can't have this guy in my way. I need to get around him because, the day, like, I'm not racing against this guy. I'm racing against the guy in front of him. Yeah, you know what I mean? So, like, you get that mentality, like, and you see that C next to the name and you're like, okay, I need to get around that guy because the guy ahead of him is in my class and I really need to get that guy. So, like,
Yeah.
I just wish they would do away with it. So that way, anyone that you're near on the track, you're racing against all of them. And I think that, I think overall it's just better that way, rather than trying to give people down the back of a field, mid to back of the field, a bit of an ego boost. Like, I think it's just because at the end of the day, like, I don't know, maybe there are some people that just want to be able to have a chance at doing good in that class. But me personally, like, man, you can put me in mid pack all the time. I don't care. I'm just having fun doing the racing. So yeah, I wish they would do away with it. Yeah.
Yeah,
What's your take?
I can stomach it in GT3 only because it exists in the real world. Like, when you've got
Yeah.
am, whatever, I think it's okay. And you know, I uh, apart from the odd frustration in like times when you do come up on a challenger and you just like, oh geez, I could really just do with them just like, get out of the way, that's
Yeah.
odd. Like, I like the overall general, I don't know, kind of chaos that it adds to it, but I think the challenger class is there for essentially your proper AM drivers, your guys that are maybe new to the GT3 in itself, new to the league, um, or not known, in the wider scheme of things across other
Yeah.
leagues. And you go into the challenger class with the view that you go up to elite as soon as possible. So like
Yeah.
that may not be. We got 7 races in a season, so that doesn't mean go in round 1 and then go up. Like that means you might be in there for 1 year. But if you win or finish on the podium, for me it's straight promotion and never go back. Like you're reclassified for good. I think if you're
Well, you just answered your own question then, because you want to go back.
Yeah, I'm joking. I don't actually want to go back. Like, I do it to because it's a great way to stir Ricky up running the league. But also like whatever. But yeah, at the end of the day, like I turned up to Misano in a car that I've never driven before and probably felt like I should have got a top 10. Like I'm not. Yeah, I'm not considering for 1 second that I would have to proper be part-time to go to Challenger. But yeah. It's where it blurs the line. Like if you've won Challenger class, there's no need for you to be in Challenger class. And that's not directed at anyone in particular. That's just my general feeling on this type of setup across whatever league it might be. It's just you've ticked that box. So let's move onwards and upwards. Like that's, it's kind of like doing a job, getting a promotion, getting paid the extra money, and then your next move being back to your old job again. And you should only move forward. That, like, I don't know. That's how I look at it. And there's guys there that are. I think if you're on the borderline, you may as well be an elite. Like that's. I don't know. I can't. I know some people sort of say, having dealt with it in other league admin roles, people are like, "Oh, I don't want to race for 30th every week. I'd rather race for a top 5 in AM class." Well, I'm like, well, I'm sorry, but that's still 30th to 35th. It's just you choose to look at it a different way. Like you're still you're not finishing any higher. You just like your aim should be to finish higher. Like that's I don't know. I might be wired different.
Yeah. No, I get that, because like at the end of the day, like with GSRC, like I was always sort of hovering. I've been a while since I've raced GT3 with those guys, but I was always in the Pro-Am class, and I've even gotten really good results in the Pro-Am class, but then I've always sort of finished and gone, oh yeah, good result. But then I always think to myself, but I'm in the Pro-Am class. Yeah. Well, the Pro class had another 30 odd cars and they're miles ahead of me. So like it always just played in my mind. I'm just like, to do better. Like, you know what I mean? To get into Pro. Like it's just, I don't know.
It also, kind of like the longer you spend in there, the more the step becomes bigger than what you make it out to be bigger than what it actually is. Like the back end of the elite class is really not much better than the challenger class.
Here you go. Here's one for you. The people that whinge about coming 30th in a one split race all the time and that want a challenger or a M class so they can get a top 5 are the same people that post their freaking PDF photo on a bloody iRacing Facebook page about how they came second in split 38 on some freaking race. Like it's the same. Shit. It's the same people. It is the
You're
same
telling
people.
me that you don't have a room full of frame certificates? Look, each to their own. You do your man cave up however you like. Yeah. Some of them, like, if you win in split one, like tops, like, okay, whatevs. Cool. I don't even know where to go with that. Oh my god. Okay, looking at the championship
we discovered this evening that there's a teams championship in the Premier Endurance League. And
It's a nice little segue.
not only that, our team's only third. How did that happen?
Some sort of, like, obviously it's a typo.
It wasn't for now. Well, maybe you did contribute some points in round 2.
Yeah, round 2 I would have. Yeah, because we didn't know, but because we were confused, because normally in a league there would be at most 2 drivers per team, so you'd have to have like 4 different versions of your team. And the funny thing is, I actually remember this conversation, now that I think about it, talking about this before this season going, like, no one understood how it was going to work and the way it works. But yeah, you've come across and said that it goes off that round and the 2 best drivers' results. Is that right?
Yeah, it seems to be. So you could,
Yeah.
we're obviously dealing with 50 car grids. There's teams in here with 6, 7, 8 cars, but only the top 2 point scorers from the night will count towards the team's overall, the team's championship. So, between yourself and Alan Dawson and Dan Magri and Stefan Lawrence from our team, you guys have managed to pick up points quite regularly in the first opening 3 rounds. So we are in the lofty 3rd position in the teams out of, how many is there? 26 teams. There you go.
Yeah.
So maybe we, if we hadn't known that, maybe we might have showed up to Oschersleben and at least tried to put the team. But I know Alan and that did race that race anyway. So,
well, it's funny. It was a horrible result for us as a team on that race because
it was our lowest point scoring round.
It was because I think Madgry scored some okay points actually in that round. But yeah, I know Alan had a bit of a shocker, and I think Alan got caught in some carnage in lap 1, lap 2. So yeah, there was a bit of a messy round for us, that one. But yeah, look, mate, by next round we'll be up the top. Don't you worry, mate. I got a good feeling about Detroit.
Judging by the Garage 61 lap times that are coming in, I don't share your optimism.
Yeah. What are you talking about, mate? There's only one person in that bloody actually doing laps.
Oh my god, I'm gonna choke here in a second. I'm struggling. Well, let's go to the teams. Okay, so it's TriStar Racing, Ventral IPM Sport by TriStar Racing. There's more room in that name to fit a couple more things, I think. And we've got Twitchy Foot Racing. TriStar had 1,710 points. Twitchy Foot are in second on 1,680, so there's only 30 points separating those 2 teams. And then it's 260 points back to us in third. Revolution E-Racing in fourth, and Bluebell Racing Team in fifth. So that's an interesting one to follow along. So 3 rounds into the 7-round series. So a bit to race for there. We still got a couple of big topics to cover to finish up here, Packets, and let's go with the story that we've followed for quite some time, and that is that Corsair has now completed the takeover of Fanatec. Your initial reactions?
I'm shocked.
Unbelievable. Look, I don't know. One way or another, they were going to get it done. Whether we liked it or anyone else liked it or disliked it, or whether the courts were going to try and stop them or not, they were going to get it done.
Yeah, we saw it coming. It got messy. Then it went quiet, which was odd. And now it's happened. And I guess let's just see what happens for the next 6 months. See whether they can, fix the spot fires that have been lit by Fanatec. So, hopefully they can turn it around and do good of it. but yeah, only time will tell. So just see what happens.
Yeah, it'll be it's one. It, I wonder if it changes the dynamic. I was thinking about, if I was better organized, it would. I don't know if we could get much out of him, but we could get one of our former guests back, Blake from Gaming Gear Direct. And I was thinking about it, like, beforehand, those sim hardware companies probably wouldn't even have bothered to reach out to Fanatec, and that's not because of the product, but it's just because of the way Fanatec did business. Like, they
Yeah.
didn't really sell through those types of companies. They just did all their sales themselves. But I'm wondering now that Corsair's taken over, whether that's going to be a completely different strategy behind how they go about selling and distributing their products.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I mean with, like, we'll see how they roll out for the next 6 months, because it's going to be like, obviously they've got some issues they need to fix with customer service, warranties, and everything else, and their lack of customer support, but also the distribution and whatnot on how they how they put their product out there and where it's sold at. Because at the end of the day, if they do end up throwing that in the bin, that Endor way, and just go to like how everyone else is and selling them at sim stores, and maybe that might help as well. But it'd be good if they did do that. But like I said, time will tell with that one, eh? Because I don't think anyone really knows the direction of what Corsairs actually going to do.
Yeah.
I think they just need time to figure out what they actually do need to do. No doubt they're trying to go, rightio, this is our worst issue, we need to fix this right now. This one's a big one, so we have to work with this. Like, they'll be, there's a lot of investment going into this, so they'll strategically be trying to work out what they need to do first and what needs to be a long project and a short project. And we'll see what happens.
For me, like, I can't see how they couldn't bundle the CSLs, like the CSL level, into a box and distribute it at JB Hi-Fi, like Australia Electronics
Exactly.
Reseller, and be just completely direct. Like, you've got your your Logitech and your Thrustmasters buy off the shelf in there. Like, I mean, if Corsairs, I'm thinking that this is what's going to happen. Like, they're obviously coming in. They got the money behind them to do something like this, and just put it on physically put it on the shelves in these places. They've almost got to start their target audience back at that level again, I think.
Yeah.
And sort of get on to the next wave of sim races, because the current wave are probably too clued up with what's going on to really, like, with the likes of Sim Magic and Moser and you name it. Like, there's these other options here where you can argue this way and that which one's the superior product, but they're probably all at a similar level. And you kind of, I think Corsair's got to, like, you go into a JB Hi-Fi now, you can see Corsair products hung up, like their RGB or their keyboards and their mouse and their headphones. Like, it seems just like there could be a box there with your CSL Elite pedals and whatever rim you want to rock with in that setup.
Yeah.
Like, that's where it's got to be for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree with that. They need to just completely sort of take a step back and, imagine if there was a Fanatec sort of bundle sold at JB Hi-Fi, it'd kind of make it hard for, if it was well priced, it'd make it hard for, Logitech and Thrustmaster to do as well as they do.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're just capturing that walk-in audience there. And anyway, I'll laugh so hard if the first product release is just like a Fanatec product that's just got a heap of RGB just slapped on it.
Yeah. I know. Yes.
Oh dear. But anyway, it's nice to put a bow on that. Nearly took a year. It nearly took a year to get there, but it's there now. The other big sort of, I guess, news from the week was Motorsport Games has now officially been listed for sale. So if anyone's not aware, we're now talking about the company that owns Le Mans Ultimate or R Factor 2 as well. Some will argue that they're the same game, but they are two physically different games. They did own the rights to IndyCar, to NASCAR, to British Touring Car, and probably a host of other leagues. A host of other racing formulas to try and make games on, and they ended up flunking out with all of those except for the World Endurance Championship license. So they've now put themselves up for sale. The packets, you kind of seen this one coming, didn't you?
I kind of, not this way, but yeah, I kind of was expecting it all to fall apart. So yeah, I don't know where it's gonna head from here. It's I don't know.
I think this, this was a strategy. I like, you see, Motorsport Games is not just the developers themselves that make the software. There's also like these satellite companies like Traxion, which is a content creating company who has multiple content creators sort of supplying them with stuff to put on YouTube or on their blog or whatever. They get laid off as well. So there's quite a fair bit to this. And didn't they have was it another one? Was it Overtake GG or another one of those sim racing media sites? There was quite a lot of people and satellite companies that were actually attached to Motorsport Games.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think they initially tried to... Was it Overtake? I can't remember if it is Traxion. I think it might be Traxion.
Traxion was definitely a company that was attached to them. I swear there was
one
when they lost the IndyCar license back to iRacing about 6 months ago. I swear there was another company that had a heap of the YouTubers attached to it that they got rid of then.
Yeah, they ditched it, but they brought it back because they were like, "Oh, we're going to..." Yeah. So, yeah, it did, and then they chose to keep it because... And I think it has been separated from them. I don't know. They did something where it was going to be fine. But, it's either Traxion or it's Overtake. It's one of the two.
Traxion definitely right now. It's a company.
Yeah. Because everyone's like, it's not costing them anything to do that. The YouTube channel gets good views, so it'd be making good money for them. So everyone was kind of confused about that when it came about. But in the end, they chose to keep going with it. But I have a feeling that it's not owned and ran by Motorsport Games anymore. I have a feeling it's its own thing now. I could be wrong on that. But yeah, I don't know. Like Le Mans Ultimate, everything I was hearing was positive. It's still in early access. It still doesn't have GT3s. So don't really know what's going to happen with that now. It seems like a bit of a shame, but because at the end of the day, wasn't that game getting used for a real life bloody online?
Well, they are the
24
they
hour
are
coming
the
up.
right for Le Mans. Virtual. Le Mans virtual, which we haven't heard about that for near 2 years now after the Verstappen incident.
Yeah.
But I think this was the tactic 6 months ago, 12 months ago, or maybe not 12, but definitely 6 to 9 months ago, I think they made the decision that, I don't know, there must be a general feeling that the name now is so damaged that it can't be repaired. And it wouldn't surprise, like, so they've probably figured out that they needed to sell off the licenses. They needed to downsize the staff. We heard all about there was an Australian arm that was working on certain titles that they fully got released, like or made redundant. I think they've downsized in every way, and they've put it all into this Le Mans Ultimate, because what they've probably done now is, before Le Mans Ultimate come out, they were not, to a potential investor, they weren't attractive at all. They were damaged. They were hemorrhaging. They were over capital, had too many assets that was requiring too much money that the company couldn't produce. And, they figured we need to downsize this and then actually gain some trust back with one or two titles before we even worry about all these other titles. And, I think in that they determined, well, Le Mans Ultimate has launched and is feasible, but maybe they just don't have the funds there to actually fully carry out the rest of the development. But now they've got an asset that's worth something that they could sell. And so it might be now potentially interesting to another developer, investor.
Yeah. It was like I said before Le Mans Ultimate come out. I said it's kind of like they're banking on that being successful to get them out of the shit.
Yeah.
And it wasn't perfect when it came out. And then when they started talking about people having to pay for the GT3s when they come out, because it doesn't even have GT3s in it, like the real life, people are a little bit dirty about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe that's what shot him in the foot. I don't know. But at the end of the day, like, no one's surprised by this. So it's. I
kind of think, it's a nervy time, but if it falls into the right hands now, look at it from the glass half full scenario. If ownership of Motorsport Games falls into the right hands, Le Mans Ultimate looks like it could definitely be at least something close to an ACC, which we know that's got a pretty good fan base and good online presence and good esports, and like that's certainly what Le Mans Ultimate's geared at. It's not an iRacing competitor. So they've got it to a point where I think there's genuine optimism from a lot of people where they think, okay, there's potential here. It's certainly worth the the $25 or whatever it launched at the start. The initial investment, but there's obviously a ways to go, and there needs to be continued investment. And obviously, I just don't think that level of funding was Motorsport Games could give to it. So before it stays stagnant for too long, they're going to sell it, which I kind of think is they're making the best out of a bad situation.
Yeah,
kind of feels like, well, for a long time we've had nothing to sell, and now we've got something to sell, so let's take full advantage. But we can finally put that one to bed, I think. Once we'll figure out who it goes to, and then obviously keep track of what happens to Le Mans Ultimate, and I'll factor 2 from there. Hopefully that someone comes in and finishes that wet game off. I can certainly see myself tuning into Le Mans when it happens in the real world, and then just going, I'm going to do a proper knee-jerk reaction now and go buy Le Mans Ultimate if that's the case, if they do finish it off properly. So we can only hope. But Packets, we have been going now for well over 2 hours.
2.5
Jeez.
hours. I think you
Far
can
out.
tell both of us are fading a little bit, but we wanted to at least get a fair episode recorded, having spent so much time away. Time just passed by. It was never really meant to be 2 months between episodes, but there was several attempts to get another episode done, but it just didn't work out for numerous reasons. But we're back now, so we've probably got enough to do a couple episodes here. But mate, appreciate you jumping back in and giving up your evening, so much of it, and doing this podcast with us.
No, it's good to be back, mate. Trying to see if we can get a couple more out, eh?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely get a few more out in the not too distant future. As Lee's and really the year itself sort of starts to wind down towards Christmas, but we'll wrap those leagues up that we've been following along with, and I'm sure we'll get a few more guests come back on and talk about sim racing in general. But for now, that is going to conclude episode number 19 of the Sim Racing in Focus podcast. Thanks everyone for joining in. If you feel so inclined, so you can try and avoid the algorithm as much as possible, jump on and subscribe to the YouTube channel or Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Jump onto Facebook and follow along there as well, so you don't miss out on any time. Hopefully it won't be 2 months before the next episode comes out, but you won't miss it if you're subscribed. So everyone, please jump in and do that, and we'll see you on the next one.